First it was the names that went. Names of her neighbors, names of her grandchildren. Sometimes the names of her 2 daughters, her only son. She knew their faces, of course. The daughter with the sharp eyes, always inspecting her, pressing her onward, always onward, to the bathroom, the kitchen, anywhere that was away from the door, where she'd hesitated, no longer certain of her direction or why. The other daughter was pale-faced and forgiving. When she wandered lost among the tomato vines in her yard, it was this daughter who clasped her hands firmly in hers. The son did not visit often. He called once a month. Who could blame him? His mother, who couldn't be trusted with the baby, who couldn't be trusted with herself. Even as a boy, he'd been prudent, preserving himself against the world's imperfections. Then, one day, the streets began to go. The stark, narrow one, shortcut to the schoolyard where her children used to wait, fidgeting and hungry, racing at the sight of her. Then the route to the drugstore, the turn to the post office, the short, leafy distance to the bakery, with shelves of cinnamon bread she liked, lightly buttered, on rainy afternoons. Her neighbors began finding her, strolling up and down the road, peering into windows she recognized but could no longer place. Sometimes they found her at the bus stop, considering the direction of her home, which was not on any bus route. Each time the neighbors took her elbow, the younger ones kindly, the older ones angrily, all of them threatening to tell on her. But how could she stay home? The sky shimmering outside her window, the trees like shadow puppets dancing on the lawn. The promise of her tomatoes plumping in the yard Edward had cleared for her years ago, when they were both still young and had half the mortgage to pay. She couldn't help it. Her body yearning for the weight of the globes, warm under cool running water. There was no room for her daughter's warnings or her neighbor's pity. Her feet simply took her there, down the steps, into her bright garden. Her first tomato came to her in 1911, the year she turned 13, the year she first visited America, small, yellow, pear-shaped. It was a gift from her father, plucked from the land that was to be her new summer home in California. The seeds were slimy, and the first time she bit the fruit, they splattered the soil, a dark, phlegmy embarrassment. She hastily towed the spot, but her father, catching her, laughed. "Watch out. Everything root here." She ended up potting that patch of soil and placing the terracotta by her bedroom window in the farmhouse that now held her summer things, like her new frock, uncomfortably buxom beside her yukata, which waved like a happy kite when the breeze blew in from the rice paddy that belonged to her father's cousin Bob. Bob, like her father, was an agronomist. Once known as Mitsuru, he was a reckless fox of a man, his many pockets jingling with ideas too modern for their hometown in Niigata, a rice farming region on the west coast of Japan. Her father, though, could never resist their allure, and Mitsuru, knowing this, often entangled him in regrettable schemes. Bob left for California in 1906, and for over 2 years no one heard from him. But of course it was her father to whom Bob eventually wrote, telling him about the new strain of rice he was cultivating, sweet like home, but suited to the California soil and climate. Her father leapt at the prospect, and though it would take a few seasons, the strain, a robust hybrid, would prove successful, surviving all the land acts and even the arsonists sent by the Asiatic Exclusion League, until Executive Order 9066 rounded up all the Bobs and transplanted them to Manzanar. "Yellow pear," her father said, testing the shape of the language that would one day replace her own. "That's name." The plant grew, despite the confines of the pot and window, and produced a single cluster of tomatoes that collected like dewdrops. It sat there, enjoying the sun that dazzled the room every summer for 3 years, until one afternoon an avalanche of books loosed by an earthquake battered its limbs and broke its spine. "Oh well," her father had laughed, squeezing his shoulders to his ears like his Americanized cousin.
That's life, huh?